Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix24 Partners Interface. Contact details are on the screen there. We're based in the UK and we have offices in New York and Dubai. And we can manage all your pre-sales questions, including doing a demo and discussing the different editions of Bitrix. We have a full implementation service, so we can do customization and training, and we provide telephone support as well for cloud and self-hosted users of Bitrix. So get in touch with us during this session by adding a comment into the YouTube chat window. Alternatively, you can email us at live@interface.com, and we'll try and answer those questions. We've had some questions come in over the last few days, which we'll answer as well. So you can post them in the chat window, or you can email them to the live email address. And of course, you're going to get in touch with us afterwards on one of those details, those contact numbers, or our email address, sales@interface, with questions. You can do that as well. So let's kick off with first question we had in during the week. I'm thinking about processing deals. If the deals is still at in progress stage after 7 days, it sends an automatic email to the customer reminding them of the quote. So that's the first stage. There's a second stage to it. We can do that. So we're looking at deals. So if we go to the CRM, and if we go into deals, your CRM might be, your links at the top might be different to this. The default link, I think, is probably start. We've changed it to leads, but if I can see I've got deals available up here as well. We click into automation rules. So the question is, if it's still in progress after 7 days. Okay, so these are the stages we've got on our deals. In fact, we've got a number of different deal pipelines. They'll all potentially have different stages. See if we've got one with which has an in progress stage. No, let's change one of these to in progress. So you can edit any of these stages. And if we go back into our deals, looking for on-premise opportunities, that's the pipeline we're interested in. Click back into our automation and click into on-premise opportunities. We've got a stage called in progress. So what they want to do is, if we're at that stage for 7 days, send an email. So click into configure, and we've got a few things happening here. Let's take some of these out, certainly out of this stage. And go to communications and email, and we can write a follow-up email with comments in here. Oops. And the setting we're looking for here is to run immediately or after a time period. We're going to look at days, we're going to look at 7 days and save that. So run in 7 days. This is the content of the email. We'll save that. Of course, it's going to send the email to the email that's associated with this deal. So that's the first stage. Second stage is taking it to the next level. It'd be great to have a button on the email so the customer can close the deal themselves if they no longer require it. So this would be possible to achieve with a trigger. So we have a stage here called opportunity lost, and we can add a trigger into here. Email link clicked. So all we need to do is put the URL of the email that we're looking for them to be clicking on. So the original email we've sent them down here needs to include a link to a web page. That web page can be any page, can have any content on it, but the description needs to be around that email, needs to be something like, if you do not wish to proceed with this deal, please click this link. And on clicking that link, provided we put the correct link in there, let's just put something in there. It can literally be anything. It needs to make sense to the customer, I guess. On clicking that email, this will automatically update the stage of this deal to opportunity lost. You could actually have an additional loss. We've got a few different loss stages here. Stopped by customers. In fact, stopped by customer might be the right one. So something like that. So we can actually categorise why this particular deal was lost. In this case, stopped by customer, and that will close down the deal, change the stage of this deal to lost. So if you click and open one of these, we'll see. Put this in the right pipeline. We can't migrate that one. Let's just quickly add a new deal. Save that. So if we click into our, let's just refresh that page. Let's click into our automation again. We can see. I'll put this in the right pipeline. Bear with me a second. Go back into our deals, bear with me a second. So to change the pipeline in the deal, we need to open it up in the slider view, and you've got a link at the top there that allows you to change the pipeline. I'm going to put it in on-premise because that's the pipeline. Remember, each pipeline has different stages. So we're now in the right stage, the right pipeline, and we can see we've got an in progress, and when we close it, we've got a lost. When I click on lost, it'll allow me to select why it's been lost. So that's the way of doing it manually, but actually with our process it would do it automatically. First thing though is we change to in progress. This will automatically, if we look at the automation again, send an email. We can see that it's in progress. That's actually sending the email. When it's complete, that will go yellow. If the user clicks in that, if the recipient clicks in that link inside that email, it will automatically close the deal to stopped by customer in this case. And we get a notification saying that that's been complete. If we go into our deals again, then that deal has actually dropped out of our Kanban view. But we can actually change the filter here to see lost deals as well if necessary. Okay. So, do you have two-step authorization? We certainly do. It's in, I think it's in settings. So if we go to settings, you'll have a settings link in the left-hand side, and scroll down, then yes, it's here. So make two-step authorization mandatory for all users. So this will require a user to confirm confirm their password on a mobile device, or it will generate a code for them on a mobile device they'll need to input when they are logging in. So it's a standard feature. Okay, how can I submit a form, have it create a new lead inside Bitrix24? It's quite straightforward. If we go into the CRM, and if we go into, we're looking for CRM forms. Most of these menu items are hidden within here, or the less used ones are. So click on CRM forms. So you want to submit a form and have it create a new lead. You can create a new form with this button up here. Let's just go into an existing one. See how that will create a lead. Essentially you're going to create, this one already creates a lead, but I'll show you the setting is, you're essentially going to create your form using fields that exist in any of these modules over here. So we can actually choose a field from the company or deal or quote module. It will copy those fields over to the leads module, but essentially you usually want to select something like the person's name, their company name. things like source, information. You can generate that sort of information automatically. You don't need to do that. Doesn't need to be a field inside the form. So you can select your fields over here. You can do some. If we just open up this settings, you can do some styling changes. There's some standard themes you can choose from. You can upload. You can use your own CSS, upload your own CSS file to customize that. And at the bottom, this is the code that you want to embed on your website. So you can embed it as a static form on a page. You can create a button or a link as well. There is a standard link that's generated, which will be on the domain that your site's on. So if you want to just use the standard form that's generated instead of embedding it on another web page, you can do that. But the question is, can I create a lead? And it's in here. Save the data to CRM entities, and this one's selected as a lead. A client or a company, a deal, a quote, or an invoice. So you can generate, from one of these forms, you can generate any one of these records within the CRM. You've got some options about what you do if a record already exists. Do I merge it? So depending on what content people are adding into the form, if it appears to already exist, you've got the option to merge that, replace, or just allow duplicates. So that's that. I was wanting to set up my sales agent's sales targets. Is that possible inside the CRM? It certainly is. And if we go to, we're in the CRM, if we go to start, then we should have a dashboard here already with some sales target information. So essentially, every module of the CRM has a widgetized dashboard. I can add any of these reports to this page. It's all drag and drop, so I can move these around. Let's just pull that back up there. Move these around to create the page layout I want for my own purposes. We've got on this page things like activity reports. These are quite good. I can see kind of what activity this user's had on these different modules, and I can see remaining or outstanding overdue activities. But sales targets are here, so I can actually see, if you go to the settings, I can see sales target for period. I can see select target, so total number of sales or total number of deals. Do you work on, are your targets set on a total value of sales or the number of individual sales? So we're on number of deals there. Let's put it on total sales. Sales target view by employee. So you could do it by employee, or you can do it by individual deal pipeline if you want to do that. Set a target for each department. We'll do it by employee. By doing it by employee, I can now import their target into here. And of course, each individual person can have their own target. Let's add somebody else in here. And of course, you can add any live user into there. And so that's it. They're not, in this demo site, you can see the total generated sales, but in this demo site, we don't have a lot of one deals, as we can see, resulting in 0 sales for each individual here, but the total or sales target is illustrated on the right hand side, and as they progress towards that, the graphic progresses towards that sales target. An additional widget here. So these are 2 separate widgets. You can use either of these widgets, or choose to use both of them. Any way to merge duplicate deals if accidentally created without losing data? There might be a new way of merging. Let's have a look. So there is a new tool to allow you to do some merging of records within the CRM. Fortunately, whether it's not on this site or Sorry, I can't. I'm going to probably have to come back to you on that. But yeah, I think there is now a new tool to do merging. So Bitrix does automatically try and prompt you when the information you're entering looks to be similar to information that exists in the system. So if an email address is the same, or a company name or a contact name, it will prompt you, and you can choose to ignore that or to merge those records. But there is a tool, I believe a new tool, that allows you to do that retrospectively on existing records as well. But I'll have to check that and come back to you. Is there a setting or permission I can activate so that employees can clock in but cannot edit their times? I don't think. I think actually a user can edit their own. As standard, a user can edit their own times. Generally, you clock in up here, and if you go to time and reports, we're on a demo and work time. We're on a demo site, so we don't have any data on this clock in. You'll see in each of these days, against each of the employees, you'll see the amount of time that they've worked, and if they've not met the minimum criteria, which for each individual person, so they can be set, right, so that the clock in and clock out time can be set different for each person, but if they've not met those, it's off for this one. If we turn it on, we can see you can define the time that they're required to clock in and clock out. But I do think that a user can change that. So there is, and I don't think the standard is a way you can create permissions on that. If you had a self-hosted version, then it would be possible to do that, make that change. But I think the user is able to edit that time by themselves. So there's our contact details. If you want to get in touch with us about a demo at all afterwards, then please do so. If you've got any questions, send them to on the chat window or send them to live@interface.com. If I use a self-hosted version of Bitrix and use my own server, is my information still backed up elsewhere? So Bitrix is available as a Bitrix essentially is a cloud product, whether you buy the self-hosted or what's just called the cloud product. The self-hosted would be hosted, you have a choice of where you host that, so you could host it on your own in-house machine and choose to allow access over the internet, although some businesses choose to restrict access over the internet. Generally, someone's self-hosting, they're hosting it in their own data center because they want control over their data. But it's accessible, access through a browser, fully accessible over the internet. Or you can host it in a web on a web server, or we can host it in our data for you. So essentially, still a cloud product, but you get to choose where you host it. And in terms of backing up, it is possible to create backups within the control panel. So I'm just clicking into, on the self-hosted, we have this admin bar at the top. I just drop that down, you can see that it is possible to create pages and sections and edit pages and do quite a lot of other things with these tools up here. And if you click into the control panel, which is where I've gone, you've got quite a lot of settings down here, see on the left, that allow you to configure how the site works in quite a lot of detail. So quite a lot you can do to customize the page, the design of pages, either remove Bitrix component parts from a page or add additional component parts to a page. You can change permissions and things so different people can see different content. And there is some additional features like help desk and e-learning on the self-hosted. So one of the big things really is, or the two big things really, I guess, apart from customization, are also the fact that you can brand it. You can add your own branding to the login page, and within the site add your own branding. And the other benefit of the self-hosted is that it has a full API. So usually if we're trying to integrate with another system for a client, we would nearly always be using the self-hosted because it has that option to the full API available on the self-hosted. The question is so I'm hosting Bitrix24 on my own server. Is my information still backed up elsewhere? So on the cloud, it's all backed up for you and run. On the self-hosted, you can find, I think, backups within your system. So it is possible to schedule backups or create a backup manually. That backs up to the Bitrix clouds. You can see here I have 60 gigabytes of space. So I think that's the standard. 60 gigabytes is what's provided when you buy a self-hosted license. So I can create my backups, or I can schedule them as well within there. So yes, you can. It is backed up, provided you enable it. It is backed up. You should just be careful about how many you're scheduling, because this space is going to get full quite quickly if you're not backing them up and then removing them after a period of time. And probably 60 gigabytes isn't a great deal of space. So depending on the size of the organisation, if you've got 50 people or more, you're probably going to use 60 gigabytes in a short period of time. So you would need to consider an alternative way of backing up. And actually, with all the self-hosted clients that we deal with, they all back up on the server side. So they'll have all their files backed up, and then they'll run snapshots that back up any changes to those files. So they're not, and they'll do that every day, and they'll keep maybe 30 days of those, because you're just keeping changes. You're not keeping a copy of all the files, for every day for 30 days. You're just keeping those files that have changed, and so it doesn't take up too much space. But the answer is you can back up within your self-hosted version of Bitrix, but you only have a limited amount of space, and it would be wise to back up the whole file, so that's the system files and the database as well on the server side, and just get your server hosting company to do that automatically. Okay. Okay, how to add our office staff to get access to their own portal. Should be quite straightforward, really. So if you go to employees on the left, and this standard employee finds standard find employee. Not sure it's called that on all editions, but you have a find employee. I think it's just called find employees, the standard normally on the cloud. You can see a list of all your employees, and you can invite them from here. So invite using an email address, or you can register them here from here as well. So yeah, that's how you invite or registered employees into the system. Works essentially the same for the cloud and for the self-hosted. With the self-hosted, if we could go back into the control panel, you have this manage users section, which allows, so on the cloud, a user creates their own account and a Bitrix passport, and you invite them into your portal. Essentially means they can access different people's portals if they're invited in. Also means that the user then has kind of control over their account. You can block them from your portal, but then you still have control over their account. On the self-hosted, you have this manage users section. So I can access all the users in the system, and I can choose to deactivate one like this, or move them to a different group. So we can also filter up here by find the right user and then run something on that user. So look what else we've got on here. Add to company structure. So you should add all your employees to, if you're looking at adding users, I've said invite them in, but you should add them to your company structure. We'll look at that in a second. If you're self-hosted, you can do that from this page, and I could do a filter of users and select all the users in my filter, and then add them to a company structure, a particular department in the company structure. So yeah, so you can invite them in. On the self-hosted, you have this flexibility to deactivate people in groups rather than individually. You also have a user group level as well. So this is in order to create different permissions and security settings for different users and groups of users. So firstly, security, got these standard security sessions levels, low, medium and high, and this just defines things like password length, the sort of characters that you're expecting them to use in the password, session maximum life in minutes, so it'll log them out over a period of 15 minutes in this case. So you can create different. So I went into excuse me, just go back into. So I went into my user groups and I went into the one called employees, and I'm defining the security settings for that employees over here, and I can also define the access. So CRM, I might want to deny access to the CRM for this group of users. Once I've created that user group permission, I assign it to individual users. So if I go back into the user list and go into one of these users and groups, then the one I created I looked at was employees. So we can allow them access or non-access to that user group. Sorry, not allow them access, assign those permissions from that user group to that employee. They can be assigned permissions to more than one group. They'll get the highest level out of all those groups that they belong to. And generally you'll have administrators, of course, people that can access this area, the control panel, and change everything in the site. Employee level, you might then have things like extranet users, so your customers and your suppliers, they've got a whole different level. Of course, they can't access a lot of areas of the system. So you can, on the self-hosted, define permissions a little bit easier. If we just go back into company structure, because we said you should invite them into the system. In fact, let me just go back in to invite, probably do it on this invite page. So invite employees to department, here we go. So you can actually select the department. So when you invite them in, make sure, I'm going to invite them into this this department, West London, and group. So they need to be in a department. They can't access the system at all if they're not in a department. They don't have to be in a group, but if they're an extranet user, they do. So, but you might want them to join some groups as well, work groups or project groups, and you can invite them in as here we go, as an employee or an external user. So that's your internal team and your customers or suppliers there. So you can actually do all of that, put them in the right department, put them in the groups, make sure they're define whether they're an employee, internal, and external user. You can do that from one page essentially there. If if you have a self-hosted, I think you can import users into here from a spreadsheet or something. I think that's an export. I think you can import them, but I probably do have to check that. When a task arrives in pending approval status, is there a way to set an automated rule or condition so that when the task is not accepted, and instead of sent back from completion, that is automatically to be sent back to the pending stage status without manually changing it. So too sure about that. When a task arises in a pending approval status, it's a way to set an automatic rule of conditions so that when the task is not accepted, it is sent back for completion. Right. So this is not accepted by the responsible person. So if it's not accepted by the responsible person, it is sent back for completion and automatic sent back to pending stage. So no, I don't think there's an action block for it to do that. So you can assign to people. You can assign a task onto somebody if you're the owner, I think, of the task. You can make someone responsible for it, and you can create a setting so that they can't close it themselves, but it has to go back to the creator. So if I'm the creator of a task, I can assign it on to somebody else. This person won't be able to close the task or finish the task. It'll come back to me, and I have to accept it as closed. You want to be able to change the stage. Or to set it back to the pending stage. So I don't think there's a way to do that. You can have a quick look in automation rules, but I'm pretty sure, I think there's a way of doing that, changing the stage like that, change status. Is there a condition or some way of doing that? There might be, but not that I know of. If it doesn't exist in here, you can certainly it might be that if you look through the conditions, you could use a condition to you're looking for the condition accept as closed. Probably doesn't exist. Let's have a look. Don't think it exists. So I'd say probably not possible to do it unless it would be possible to do it in the self-hosted version. You can create, you can inject custom code in the self-hosted version, but I don't think it's possible to do it in the cloud version. Is there an API to integrate Bitrix24 to my app, or use it as my database? Use it as my database CRM. Well, there is an API. There are webhooks on the cloud version which would allow you to do some syncing or post data or retrieve data from other systems. If you want the full API, then you need the self-hosted version. So yes, the answer is yes. Or use it as my database CRM. Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to as such, but I mean Bitrix24 is a database CRM, so you can use that. Or we do have clients that use Bitrix as a social network for collaboration with the team, and then they've always used another CRM and they want to integrate it with Bitrix. So maybe what they want to do is maybe just post some messages into an activity stream when deals are won or new leads are added or something like that, so that people can then comment on those inside here to kind of socialize your CRM if you don't have that feature already on your CRM. So if you can continue to use the CRM you have. It makes sense to move to Bitrix, so you're not paying extra money unnecessarily, but yeah, you can integrate through the API if you want to do that. I'm not getting support from your partners. Please explain Telegram and other social media landing pages using Bitrix. Please explain Telegram and other social media. So let's have a look. If we go into open channels, then Bitrix allows you to capture inquiries from multiple different channels, and so the key to winning new business, especially in maybe consumer markets where people are making inquiries to lots of different places all at the same time, is to be able to respond to those inquiries respond to them quickly and respond to them on the same channel that they're making the inquiry. So you can create forms we looked at earlier. They'll create leads. Incoming telephone calls will generate a lead. Incoming emails, if the email is not matched to an existing record in the CRM, that will create a lead. But you can also integrate with other channels, and so the main one will be something like Facebook. We do have Telegram as well. I haven't connected Telegram, but Telegram is a chat tool, and so should be fairly straightforward to do it. Won't require any code. It's asking for an access token, and I think on this link it's gonna give me some information on how to do that. So that will tell me step by step how to access Telegram. I'm not going to do that now, but yeah, Telegram's we have integration with Telegram, so anyone who sends you a message on your Telegram channel you will receive that inside. Or this user here, users in queue Jim. I can add more people to this queue. Of course, the key is that you can respond immediately to these requests, and so you'll need more than one person on standby to do this. But you can respond to messages inside your Bitrix chat window here. So you'll be able to receive the message inside Bitrix, respond to that message inside Bitrix, have the full conversation inside Bitrix, and then convert that to a CRM record. Let's have a look, see what we've got in this one here. Let's try and find another one that's got some more information. No, let's go into a lead and I'll try and show you what that would look like inside a Bitrix lead. Going to lists. So we're looking for one that was generated from a chat message, so I can show you the chat history. Facebook, there we go. So this one's generated from our Facebook page, and it will capture a certain amount of information. Of course, it's going to tell you where the leads come from. It will capture, on Facebook, I think it'll capture their name and email address. I'd have to check that. But if they type in things like their telephone number and email, it will identify those as the right telephone number and email fields, and it will populate your contact information here. So this has, in this case, we've just got their name up here and the source. But we've got on the right hand side, so on the leads record you have all the contact information on the left. On the right hand side you have all the activity. In this case we can see the chat. Full transcript of the chat, and so let's scroll up. Looks like we've been doing a lot of backwards and forwards messages on there, but there essentially is the full details of all the chat. So the person that's assigned this lead, if it's not the person that's actually been doing the chat conversation, they can review the full history of it. And yeah, so the key here is that you can respond quickly from one platform, but you can also then save that information inside a record, and if you want to then follow up manually or use the automation inside leads to automatically send an email, follow-up email to schedule follow-up calls, to create tasks and do the other things you need to do to follow up this inquiry. So yeah, Telegram and other social media, really, I mean, we have Facebook, Yandex, we have Viber, VK and Telegram, and we can also integrate with Skype, Slack, Twilio, etc., using Bitrix or Microsoft Bots framework. So you can, some are straightforward to set up, but generally they don't require any coding to do that. You've asked about landing pages. What do you want to know about landing pages? Let me know. We can have a look at landing pages if you like. Bitrix has a new module called Sites, so it allows you to create pages web pages, whole web pages, or just landing pages, and you can integrate your forms and your chat widgets and all of the calls to action on those forms. Those will generate activities or generate records inside Bitrix. You can actually integrate those tools with any other web client or pretty much any other web client. So if you're using WordPress, chat tools and forms can be easily integrated into an existing website. So those are our contact details. Get in touch if we don't answer your question today. See if we've got any more. Okay, can I invite a client into a work group and share documents with them? You can. So if we go to our work groups on, oops, not that one, if we go into our work groups here, so we have, these are your standard work groups, click an extranet. These ones here in orange are your external work groups. If you want to invite a client in, you need to create the work group as an extranet work group. So just go back and see how we do that. Click on add. Either create an external work group or an external project. I think they look the same. They have mostly the same functionality inside. A work group's homepage is an activity stream. A project's homepage are tasks, but they both include activity stream and tasks, just in a different order. In a project, you have dates. You have a start and end date. So that allows you to see whether something's going over that particular date. Work group is slightly different, but you need to create, in order to invite somebody in to share documents, both these have document drives. You need to create one of these, give it a name and add the other information you need to create that. Of course, add an external user if you have one already in the system, or invite them using their email address. Once you've done that, then you will have a list of extranet work groups. Let's go into one. Okay. Can I invite clients to work group and share documents with them? Yes. So this is a project. You can see that tasks are the home page, but we have a document drive. Let's so we can actually share a document with people outside of the work group. You don't need to invite them in. You can get a public link here, and I can set a live expiry and a password if I want to as well. And so they can download that document from the link. You can just have a look, share. Oh, you get an internal link just to share with people in a chat, in an activity stream. And we can choose to share this with somebody. So I'm going to share it with Tara Green, who I know is an extranet user. This is a person that we've already invited in. If I save that, you can see now that it's shared. It's got the standard share icon on there. And I'm logged in as Tara Green, our extranet user over here. I'm not too sure whether she gets a notification when you share a folder with us. So have a look. Close that down. Oh yeah, do you want to attach the scope document to your drive? Okay. So shared file scope document has been attached to your drive. Let's click on that link, and we can see here that 7 seconds ago the document was shared with me. So yeah, very simple. If Tara goes into her work groups, then she can go to the drive within each individual work group and access documents, but she goes into her own drive, she can see every single document. So she's got these folders, these two are work groups, and the drives within the work groups, these are separate folders, that manually created folders, and then this is the document that we've just shared. she's got access to download it, etc. So yes, very simple, very good way of collaborating with your client inside Bitrix. You can create automated processes to share documents with clients, so you don't have to do it manually. Maybe you can have, if we go back into here, we can create a folder called in fact, yeah, we could maybe just call it, I mean, we just create a folder called, this is in the client's, let's say this is the client's work group. We could create a folder called client's documents or something. Every time we add a file to that folder, we can create a process that automatically shares that file with the client themselves. So you can create permissions on these, so you could have some folders, files and folders that are not accessible to the client, and some which are. So yeah, really simple way of sharing documents with a client. Can I upload documents using a web form to the record it creates? Yeah, you can do that. If we go into, let's close these down. If we go into the CRM and we go into CRM forms using a web form. So we have this form here. Let's edit this one. What we need is a file file field. Might be that we don't have one. Let's go and create a file field in leads. So if we go into settings within the CRM, we go into custom fields, and we want to create a field in leads. So we'll look at what already exists. So we have one here. It's a file field. It's called new file. We're going to use this field. So we go back into our form, edit this, and we're looking for the field new file, which is not already here. There it is. So we've got our file field. Let's save it. And let's just go back in just to check that it's creating a lead. So anything that's uploaded into that will be uploaded into the lead that it creates. And if we click on our link, there's our form. We'll call it. I don't know what this refers to, but it's asking for some various bits of information. We can select a file and send. You can do a bit more branding on this page if you want to do that, customize this page a bit. Let's go back into our leads. And this is the lead that we've just created 10 seconds ago. Open up the lead, and you can see it's attached the file. This is actually the file I uploaded. It's a business card in this case. So yeah, straightforward. Put our contact details up for a minute. Post your questions in the chat window if you have any further questions. Okay, I cannot hide fields in the CRM. How do I do this? So first thing actually is to go into your settings at the top and switch to common form view, or switch to my form view. So my form view is your own view, and I choose just to see these fields. Common form view is the view set by the administrator. In this case, I am an administrator, so depends whether you want to hide a field just for yourself or for all users. Let's say you're hiding it for all users. Down here, you can select add custom fields, any of these, or select an existing field. Let's add region. And once I've added the field, I need to check that I need to go back into here and set common form view for all users. If I click that, now all users in the system are going to see this field. The question was how to hide them. Click on hide and that field will disappear. This field has always show on. Alright, we can actually edit, we can also edit the field now as well within here. We don't have to go into the settings, so I can edit the name of the field. This one's a drop down list selection. I can select any of these items, so it's allowing me to edit here. One new feature is this. In leads and deals, you can make the field dependent on the stage. So let's say this field isn't required until we get to demo stage. I can make the field invisible through all these stages, and then when we get to the, let's just refresh that, when we get to the demo stage it will appear. So I can still see it. I wonder whether it's because I'm an administrator. Let's see with that. So we saved it to demo stage. Just refresh. I think it's probably because I'm an administrator I still see it. But essentially you can create these fields that will display when you hit these stages. Ah, right, okay, so actually it works differently. So it's a required field. Sorry, I've got that wrong. So it's not a permission on whether the field's shown. It's a requirement of moving to that stage. So that's actually a better feature, really. So in order for me to change to this stage, I need to import some information. I think that's a really good feature. But your question about how to hide it, click on hide. Click on always show. That will show the field, even if it's not populated. That's quite useful for some businesses. They want to see where the information's not been added. But if you've got a very large number of fields and you're not using them all the time, then take this off and it will be hidden if the field is not populated. Can you create a website with login access? Yes. To give customer access, yes. I mean, Bitrix is, you can give customer access to Bitrix. As we looked at here, you can invite these extranet users in. Tara Green needs to log in to access the site. It isn't possible to access anything inside Bitrix as without logging in. So I don't think we have any more questions. I will leave you with our contact details. So get in touch with us. Subscribe on interface on YouTube. Subscribe on Bitrix24 on YouTube, and then you'll receive a notification when we go live. We're live at the same time. It's usually 2 of us every week. You can answer any questions you've got at all, any questions whatsoever. And in addition, we have webinars on Monday at 11 AM Eastern Time. So go to Bitrix24.com and you can register for our webinars there as well. Okay, bye for now.